All right, everybody ready to go? Your Photoshop assignment 1, the project 1, is due in a week. That's the Surrealism project. That'll be due by next Wednesday. If something happens in your life and it's a crisis, don't sweat it. We're always flexible on things. Life comes first, family comes first, and then we can work this out. But it's due a week from today. And also, there's been a mention that people are looking for a place to comment on the weekly projects. And we're only going to comment or do a peer review on the 3 big assignments that we have. Not on the weekly assignment. That will. We will view of your Surrealism project. So what you will do is you will post it, whatever shape it's in now, and comment on your ideas and say what you decided to do. This is why I picked this, and get feedback from your peers so that when it comes time to turn the final in, you've had some critique on it to help you. All right. Let's move right into Photoshop. All right, we're going to work on gradients and layer masks a little bit. And I want to go over gradients a little bit more. Let's say, here's my image of a puppy, how cute. And then what we want to do is, let's say we're going to use this in a magazine or something, and we want my foreground, choose my gradient tool, and up here are my options for my gradient. I can go green to white, green to transparent, black to white, and then we start getting psychedelic. There's Jasmine. Do this second. Okay, does everybody see the Photoshop? Okay, so I've selected green, my gradient tool, and my green to transparent. Now, my cursor is across, put it, see the crossbar? My icon is now across. It will be 100% solid where I started and 0% solid where I stopped. So if I want a real short one, I'll just go a little bit here and it'll create a little one. If I want a more softer gradient, I'll go longer and you can see how it does that. Let's say that I want it solid at least here. I can start and then move to transparent here. So start will be 100%, and then I'll click and drag, and where I stop will be 0% transparency. So it'll go solid to transparent over that gradient where you click and drag the gradient tool. All right, let's take a look at our layers. Bring it down just a little bit so I don't have all that room. All right. Create a new layer. And let's do our gradient on a new layer. So I will start right about here and click and drag right to his nose. Does everybody see that click and drag line?
Yeah.
Now, because it's on its own layer, I can go up here to opacity in the layers panel and I can soften that up. Transparency, I can just make the grass look greener, which if you're selling your house is a great thing to do. You can make your grass look totally green. So this is a way to apply a color tone to something and make it dissipate into nothing when it gets here. Any questions on that? On a standard gradient? Okay, Alicia is struggling. Twice. Okay. So I'm going to go now down to this house. So this is kind of a dull gray sky, not a lot of color. I want to bring color into it. So I'm going to blue. So now my foreground color is blue. Choose my tool. It's going to go foreground color to transparent, and I'm going to start here at the sky and click and drag down. Give it a blue sky. My best bet is to always choose to use a new layer right here so I can manipulate the blue. So if I bring this down and then I affect the opacity, I can give the sky some color. So those are ways that you can use a gradient. You can use it to make a solid color or enhance color that's already there. And it'll go from solid to transparent if you're touching up images like this. If you wanted to get artsy, you could do things like foreground color to white. And that's actually what it looks like. You can see where I started here, it's 100% blue, and where I stopped, it's 100% white. If I started in the middle and moved it down to the bottom, it will be 100% blue here and 100% white at the bottom. It's wherever I start will be 100% of the foreground color. And wherever I stop will be 100% of the background color. Okay. So you can use that as overlays for things to change the appearance. And do a color overlay. We talked about that last week, where we're going to fill a layer with the foreground color. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more tonight, but now we're going to go to overlay. And it's going to apply that color as an overlay. We can also play with the opacity on that. Skip to blue. Okay. So that's gradients. So now we're going to learn how to use the gradient tool in a layer mask. And some of you had questions for layer mask. So we're going to go back here to our puppy. Now a layer mask is done by choosing this icon at the bottom of the layer panel where it says add layer mask. So I'm going to select that. That's what we want. And so we've got our colors set here to the default. We choose our gradient tool and we want foreground to background. So we want solid colors. Sort of the way here. We want solid colors up top. Because we have a layer mask, what we're going to do is effectively do a gradient on this layer mask. Now, when we talked about masking last week, remember that if we color black on a mask, it fills it in. If we do white, it erases it. So I'm going to do a gradient on this layer mask. And you can see, if I hide the background, that this is transparent. So just like the color went from 100% color to 0% color, this is going from transparent to full transparent, depending on where I stop. So if I just do a little short one, I'll have a short transparency. If I stretch it out, do a long one, I have a long transparency. Does everybody see how that works? Show me some nodding heads so I know. All right, good. All right, so here's what you can do with this. I'm going to take this puppy and move him over here. And here I have a ferocious beast in the grass. So I'm going to select all of this cat. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to dog. And I'm going to paste this cat. Now let's transform scale this cat up more. Okay, so what we want to do here is we're going to use our layer mask to blend these two together. So I've got a layer mask on the dog already. On this new layer with the cat, I don't, and I'm going to make one. So it's the same process. I'm moving this because I'm trying to move the zoom thing. There we go. All right. So I'm going to choose layer mask. Make sure everything's set here in tool. This is fine. And this time I'm going to come from the other side. I'm going to start here and move towards the cat. I might want to do a little more here. Okay. Now, do you see how that's blended together? Because I have a layer mask that makes the dog's picture start to go transparent on the right, and the cat's picture starts to go transparent on the left. So you can move this around and use that blend to match them up. Now, another thing that you could do if you want this to match a little more is make a new layer. Let's go back to getting a nice green. We'll use our paintbrush to, let's get a softer brush. There we go. Bring it around here. Bring the opacity down so the grass gets a little closer to matching. So that's how you take a layer mask on one picture, a layer mask on a picture, and move the transparency parts. Everybody good on that? All right. All right. I got to find the one image I was looking for. There we go. All right. When we're talking about selecting people and objects, there's a ton of ways to do it. For example, let's say that I wanted to isolate this woman and her hair from the yellow background. I could choose one of the selection tools. Let's see. I could choose the magic wand tool, which allows me to select a color, and I can say, oh, let's select all this yellow. The problem is that this fine wispy hair is not going to get selected. It's going to make her look like she has a bowl haircut. So that's not always good. So then we can try the object selection tool. The object selection tool allows you to click and drag over an object you want to select, and it's going to use its Photoshop brain to say, okay, I know there's something in here that he wants to select, and so I'm going to do it. And it did a great job around the skin and the shoulders, but you can see it left out the hair here. And so what we're looking for is something that can subtract fine things like hair or streaks or things from a background, because it's hard to get your pen tool and go around this hair. It would take forever. So what we're going to do is something called channel masking. Now, channel masking uses channels of color to make a selection. Channels are the colors that are used to make the image. So for example, this picture is RGB. So if I'm going to choose channels, I'm going to go to Window and choose Channels. And here you see, I worked on this before. All right, so here we have what the picture looks like in RGB, and these channels color up this image. So if you want to look at the blue channel, those are the pixels density that make up the blue channel. So those are assigned to blue picture. Green in the picture, as you can tell. And that's what's assigned to red. All of those combined make an RGB picture. And we're going to use these channels to help us. The first thing that we want to do is find the channel that provides the most contrast between the hair and the background. So we're going to take a look at them individually. So this is the red channel. And look at the contrast between the hair and the background. You can see a lot of light in the hair and a lot of light in the background. That may not be the best choice. The green channel is a little better. The hair is more dark and a better separation from the background. Blue is not necessarily going to work because then the background is dark and the hair is dark. So what we've decided is the best option is going to be the green channel. That provides the most contrast between the hair and the background. So what we're going to do is we are going to take this green channel, we've isolated it now, and we are going to drag it down to the new channel indicator and make a copy. Now we make a copy because we don't want to change anything on the real native green channel. We just want to use a copy to mess around with. This is going to help us make a selection. And then when we've got our selection, we're done with our green copy and we can delete it. It's just a place to mess around. That's why we want to make a copy. We don't want it to affect the natural green channel. So now that we have this green copy, we want to use this channel and make it more of a contrast. And the way we do that is go to Image, Adjustments, and Levels. This is going to allow us to provide a change in the level of density for this image. And you'll notice you have a dark, a mid-tone, and a light slider in this levels panel. And by moving these sliders, you will change the contrast of the image. So watch what happens when I choose the dark slider and move it down. Do you see the contrast becoming dark? Now, if I go to the light slider and move it up, look what happens. My goal is to make it as much black and white as possible because I'm looking for a solid contrast. So I'll bring the white up a little bit more. And remember, the thing that I'm concerned about is the hair. I want to get the hair totally isolated from the background. I'm not worried about color right now. I'm worried about density. So I'll bring this down a little more and the light up a little more. Almost like it's a total black and white image. That's what I want. So now that I have this, I can play with some other things. Bring the output levels down. Let's keep that where it is. I think by bringing the midtone up, I can get a little better. All right. This is what I want. I want solid isolation between the hair and the background. I might just bring this down a little bit. More here. Now, here's a problem, is that let's say that I wanted to select the black color and isolate the woman. The problem is there's a lot of white on her. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint. Going to choose a paintbrush, click OK there, choose a paintbrush, and we're going to start painting her black. Because we want to isolate her from the background. And let's choose a hard brush for this. So we have a hard edge. And I know what some of you are thinking. You're looking at this saying, I have no idea what you're doing. It will all become clear. So I'm going to follow this down so it covers her. So that I make her and her hair a silhouette. Now you can see why I'm doing this on a copy of the green channel. So I'm totally messing it up, but it's just there for us to use. If you have an area and a lot of that that's a little dicey and you want to make it more refined, instead of black, paint it white, because I have a pretty good silhouette. The reason being is I want to be able to use a tool to select only the black. And the way I do that is go to Select Color Range. And this selection allows me to select a color in my picture, and it will select every part of that color that I click on. So when I select on the color range box, you'll see this box show up. And the fuzziness slider, it's hard to tell, but if you look at the fringes of hair on either side of her head, when I bring this up, you'll see that it picks up more hair in the white. The white is good. That means that's what's going to be selected. So you want to move this till you make sure you got all the little strands of hair showing. There we go. So we've got that set. We're going to click OK. Now you can see the marching ants, and you can see that the marching ants are around the strands of hair. Sometimes it doesn't look that way because the strands of hair are so small. They're so small that the marching ants are too big, but it's there. So once you have that selected, then you can say, okay, thank you, Mr. Green Copy, you have served your purpose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the RGB off the green copy. So now I am like normal. I'm on the picture. Let's move the channels out of the way. I'm going to bring my layers back. There. The layers back. Select RGB. You want to make sure that the RGB, red, green, and blue are all highlighted and that your main picture here is highlighted as well. So now you can see that she's highlighted. I still have a little bit of gold on the bottom left corner, but I can fix that after I'm done. A couple of things that I can do now. I can copy her. You can see where it's picked up the hair. Or I can go way back to where I was. I can select the inverse. Now I've selected all the gold, and I can delete it and put her in front of the scenic background. And then to touch it up, I'd follow up by using my eraser tool, get rid of this gold that I forgot on the selection. Okay, so that's how to use hair selected from the background. Now the hard thing is when you have someone who's got blonde and brunette streaks in their hair and the background is multicolored. That's going to cause problems with the channel. So you have to work on that. But hair is not the only thing that it works on. Talk about fireworks. How would you remove the fireworks from this background? The very same way, and let's go through the process. Let's go. Bring this down a bit. There we go. And let's find the channel that provides the most contrast. Start out with blue. Okay, blue's pretty good. Well, green's got more contrast. You can see that the fireworks are brighter than the background. Now let's try red. Red's the best. Do you see why I say that? Out of the three, red provides the most contrast of the three. A little bit of contrast, more. Totally good. So in this case, we're going to take the red, make a copy. Now remember, the people at Photoshop had a sense of humor. They put the new channel icon right next to put it in the trash icon. So be very careful when you move down that you get the new channel icon, and you'll have a red copy. So we're going to use the red copy here to select. The next step is to go to Image, Adjustments, Levels. And we're going to use our sliders here to see if we can create any more contrast. Here we go. Perfect, right like that. Because this is all solid firework in here, and you want to get the spindly fireworks on the edge. So you want to adjust this till you get just what you want. Click OK. And in this case, instead of selecting black, we're going to select what? When we choose our select color range. We'll use the white, because that's the fireworks, and that's what we want to select. So we've got that. Let's select OK. And now, okay, Mr. Red Copy, thank you very much. You've done your job. So we're going to go back here. Just keep this copy here, just in case I have to go back and do it a little bit better. So I'm going to select RGB, my layers, that, and I'm going to go to Edit, Copy. And let's say that I want to put fireworks above the Washington Capitol. So I've got this picture and got the fireworks in memory. Let's see if that will work. So what we can do is bring this down a little bit. Use our eraser tool to kind of move here a little bit. And so we've got fireworks there. That's another reason for using channel masking, is that you can select real fine detail out of an object. So you have feathers or hair or fine particles or fireworks or something that you want to do. Channel masking is the way to go. And there is a tutorial on channel masking there for you to look at. So good so far? Does anybody need to see that again? Are y'all good? This will be recorded, put up, so you can watch it as much as you want. All right. Now what we're going to do is talk about layer effects and styles. We learned that with layer effects, you can choose blending modes. Make sure we get that. You can choose different effects. I'm going to choose different picture because this is... All right, so I've got the fireworks. It's normal. And you can use these different layer modes to affect how that looks. Those does. Notice if you choose overlay, it's just going to apply it over the top. Lighter color will lighten it. A linear dodge kind of does a brighten over the main lines, and sometimes that will help out the look. So if you want something that's a little lighter, you can play with these two. Notice the difference. So those are things to play with and know how you can apply that overlay. There's also effects. I'm going to choose black here. And I'm going to go to my text tool. I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to type in text. And let's make this good, or even bigger. You'll notice that on text, the largest in the dropdown is 72. But forget down. Now, so we can make it big. Even though the drop down large as you can get to, custom number to make it. Okay. So what we're going to do is work with styles. If you go to Window, Styles, it will open this palette. And there's a bunch of default styles in here. And they are all based on the effects. Now, text, I can't use any of these effects. So what to do when I'm done editing my text is I'm going to rasterize the type. That makes it an image now. There's no longer a T in there, meaning type, it's an image. And the effects that I have are all of these. I can choose bevel and emboss, stroke, inner shadow. All of these things apply a different aspect to it. So I can choose normal, and I can apply color for an inner stroke, make it opacity, size. And you can see what happens to the text. These are all effects that you can apply. You want an outer stroke that's solid as a red, or to give it creative, you can do that. You can choose satin, color overlay, stroke. All these options that you choose. You can have a cloud pattern and put the cloud pattern in there. Days on end, you could do this. But each one of these effects will apply to what you do. So right now I'm doing a pattern overlay. So I can select pre-designed patterns and fill it with these patterns, I can also make my own patterns. Here's some trees. So what it does is it fills that object with the pattern. Okay. So in your messing around stage, what I'd like to try these different effects. Try drop shadow, spread. Where do you want the shadow to be? And what it represents is the sun. So if the sun is in the top right, your shadow is going to be the bottom left. If the sun is at the top left, your shadow will be bottom right. Play around with that too. And what it'll do now is it'll show under your object what effects you used. And here's the drop shadow. And you can turn that off and on. You can turn all of the effects off and on. You can add, so let's add some here. Let's go to pattern overlay. Let's choose that tree. So now they're starting to line up. You can see this is a combination of drop shadow and pattern overlay. You can add another. Let's do stroke. So all these effects that you're adding now combine to change your image. Now you can turn these off and on. You can also edit them. For example, let's edit the stroke. I'm going to double click on the stroke and it will open that layer style. And let me change some of the parameters. So each one of those is changeable. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to clear that layer style, start over. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my styles palette. Now these styles are just like the brushes. There's 10 billion of them because all they are of those effects that I just showed you in different ways. So if I choose this obnoxious looking one, it is a combination of the satin effect, which you can adjust here, and the gradient overlay, which you can adjust here if you want. But they're pre-made, in other words. Someone has gone through, added a whole bunch of different styles, and then they save it as a style icon that applies all of them. Each one is a series of those effects that we saw combined together to make that. A lot of them are really nice. Let's say you want a gold metallic one. Let's find one. So all of it are just notice under the word text where it says effects, those change every time I click one. And all they are, again, are combinations of these that have been edited to make this style. Now, it is a lot easier to use the pre-made ones rather than try and figure it out yourself. You can also use these to copy it and apply it to another layer and just paste it in rather than go through recreating them all. Now, just like brushes, you can load layer styles in. Is not a style. I have one on the desk. And I want to, let's see. Here. They moved something on me. Hold on, I will find it. Import styles. It used to be load styles, now it's import styles. That's where your monthly fee goes, so they can change those things and tell you it's new. All right, so import styles. So I'm going to choose import styles, and it's going to open the search window, and I'm going to look on my desktop for an ASL file. And look, there it is. It's called Glass Water. So I'm going to choose that and open it. And it has added it. So look how many of those, I think it's used every one of the optional effects to make this style. So that's how easy it is to apply a style that you find. If you find something you really like, you don't have to learn how to apply each of those effects and then configure them to make this. It's already done. And then if you want to play with this and say, oh, that's really awesome, but you know what? I want to change the gradient overlay a little bit to a less opacity. Then you can do that. You can see that I've loaded some in here. And some are really, really nice. And it saves you lots of time and trouble because somebody's already gone through and configured each one of these effects to a certain level, and it just adds them. And you can turn each one of these off. Let's say that I don't want to stroke on it. I can turn those off, or drop shadow. It's all customizable. Okay. All right. Any questions? Is good? You ready? One more thing. It's awesome. All right, so let's get rid of these. Let's actually go to a new canvas. Now, under your text, if horizontal title and click, let's bring the size down a little bit. What it does is it puts in Greek text so I know what it looks like, and then you can just select it and change it to what I want. So that's how you enter text in Photoshop. It'll be the color, the foreground color, and you put that in. If I choose vertical type, it's going to make it vertical. So I could change this to be vertical. Those are the two main type ways that you can do. Also underneath are mask tools for text. If I choose vertical mask tool or horizontal mask tool, let's do that. What it's going to do is it's going to use that text as a mask. We're pretty. Now notice that instead of type, you have a selection that is that type. That's what happens when you use the text mask selection, is that it will create a selection. What's that good for, you say? I will show you what it's good for. There's my choice. Okay. So let's say here, I want to create a word out of this image. What I'm going to do is choose the horizontal type tool. I'll click here. And let's make it big. Let's make it 300. All right. No, I'm sorry, that was wrong. Let's try it again. Horizontal type mask tool. There we go. And we'll call it city. And we'll make it 400. And here. And then I'm going to, once I have it masked, I'm going to go to the move tool, and you'll notice that it has masked on the city. I have an extra M in there. Get rid of that. So I have a mask now over the city. So I'm going to make sure that I'm on this layer. I'm going to copy. Open a new image, create it, paste. And we get rid of that extra M. And now I've used that image to create the word city, filling the word with the image. That's one way to do it. Let's go back here. I should start getting rid of the ones I've done. Here we go. Another thing that I can do is I can select a portion of the city and I can copy it. Okay, good. This is in Photoshop's brain. It's going to hold it for me. So now what I'm going to do is create a new image. I'm going to choose my horizontal type mask tool. Type in city again. Make this one 600. And here. All right, so this is the mask one. I'm going to choose this, and notice now that my word is selected. It's just a selection, nothing else. Here's something that's interesting. When I go to edit paste, I'm going to choose paste special. And the choice under paste special is going to be paste into. And what this is going to do is take that image that's in memory and it's going to paste it into the selection. So I choose paste into, looky there. It has pasted that image that I selected into that selection. And the nice thing about it is it's masked it here so that if I say, you know what, I want this part of the city to show better. To get the part that I want to show. See how that works? Everybody squared away on that? Then if I want to start adding effects to it, give it a drop shadow. Make it stand out. Okay, so that's one thing to try. Another thing to try, let me see if I can grab a picture of wood here. Let's do this one. All right, everybody see Photoshop there? What I'm going to do is File, New, Create. So I have a piece of wood there. I'm going to use this text tool, and we're going to talk about text in more weeks, don't worry about it. But I'm going to use this horizontal type mask. I'm going to click here. I'm going to type wood. And I'm going to select all that. 72. So you can see now on this wood, I have the selection or the mask of the color. So now on this wood, I'm going to copy. And what I'm going to do by copying it is use that selection to copy that picture of wood in that text of wood. Now I'm going to go edit paste, and I'm going to paste that selection right on top. And you go, that doesn't look very good. That's because they pasted the selection right on top of where it came from. If I hide the picture of the wood, you can see where it's there. So some effects that you can do now to make it artistic is go down to your effects panel and let's bevel and emboss it a little bit. Slide that around, make it more of a size. We can soften it up. Pardon me. All right, that's one option. You can give it a gradient overlay, all kinds of things. So if we want that to be like it's embossed in the wood, all that is typing that word in a horizontal mask and copying from the wood, pasting it in, and then applying effects to it. Apply a drop shadow, down. Let's do the spread. There we go. So now by just using those effects, you can alter the look of that, but still a basis for your art. All right. That's enough for tonight. Let's take a look. Let me stop sharing here. Oh, the sound is cutting out. I'm sorry. Has it been bad all night? Back and forth a little bit? All right. I hate Zoom. All right, so let me go to where we're at. Where is? Get to. There we go. We got better. All right, very good. Go back here, share the screen. Hey, you survived to week 3. Congratulations. If you can make it to week 3, you can make it through the whole thing. Don't worry about it. It's perfect. All right, so these are tutorials in text about blending modes, layer effects, gradients. Here's some brushes that you can download. Here's some smoke brushes, and these are video tutorials. And this is a good one on channel masking. The discussion for this week is to submit a draft of project 1. And I'm going to correct that. That should be the first project. All right. Now, sometimes it's difficult to know the difference between assignment and project. Assignments are the weekly ones that we do, and there's no peer review for those. There's peer review for the 3 main assignments. There we go. Let's see if I fixed it. Yeah, project 1. This is where you're going to post your project 1, whatever state it's in right now, your surrealism assignment. Talk about it. This is the idea I was thinking, or I'm not sure about this, or whatever you want to say. Post it and then provide feedback to 2 of your colleagues on theirs, kind of help them out. And that's the discussion for this week. And then for this week, you will also submit assignment 3. So I'll show you what that is. Eight by 10 canvas at 150 pixels per inch. Just collect some source, make a nice image. Use a layer mask, a gradient, it can be a gradient overlay, a style, and a blending mode or layer effects. And those are the effects that we talked about that are at the bottom of the layers panel. The drop shadow, the bevel and emboss, those things. All right. And those are the things that you need to do for it. That's assignment 3. So 2 things this week. You're going to upload on the discussion board your project 1, whatever state it's in. And then you'll submit assignment 3, this thing, by next Monday. Everybody got that? Perfect. Now, some of you have had questions during the week, which is great, because if you have a question, it gives me an opportunity to correct maybe where I wasn't clear on something. And so I will show you something on a video, make a video for you and send it to you. And if you're still having issues, I'll be happy to set up a one-on-one Zoom. And starting next week, I'm going to be on at 6 o'clock. It'll be next Tuesday. will be done well before time to get out and get some exercise. So if you have questions, show up at 6, and I'll use the time from 6 to 6:30 to answer questions or show you things you need help with. Okay? Is that it? All right, go get.
This is
Sure.
sorry. It's unrelated to Photoshop, but it's about Illustrator because I just switched over to my Illustrator tab, and I
Okay.
get like a dinging error noise every time that I try and move anything. You know what? You know the sound I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. Is it in Illustrator or is it in Photoshop? You still have
It's in,
Photoshop open?
yes, but it's in Illustrator.
That means that a dialog box is open and needs to be used with.
Wait, sorry, you've been cutting out. I heard, the last thing I heard was there's a dialog box open.
That's generally what that dinging sound means, is that there's a dialog box open. You need to either click OK or cancel.
Let's see. Yeah, that's weird. I don't see anything.
Okay. I'll tell you what. Sasha, you stay on. Everybody else,
Yeah.
thank you. You can go and I'll work with you on individually, Sasha, okay?
Awesome.
Thank
so
you,
much.
Wayne. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you next week. All right, perfect. All right, Sasha, why don't you share the screen with me? Show me what you got.
All right. Let's see. Host has disabled participant screen sharing. You might have to change some settings or something.
Well, that's pretty rude. I'll fix that here.
I had this error before, and I don't know, after digging through different like help sites for a while, I discovered what it was, but I think I had to like reset all my configurations or something
Okay.
like that.
You should be able.
Oh no, you're cutting out again.
You should be able
Sorry.
to share now. Okay.
Okay. Screen. Okay. Are you able to see that?
I am.
Okay. So you see, I can't, like, I just click on anything in it. Oh, wait. Oh, wait, it lets me move that. Let's see. No.
Is it working now?
No, it's still, even after deleting that box, it didn't stop.
Is it on a locked layer?
The layer above is, this is locked. No. Yeah, I do not know.
So what are you trying to move?
Just anything. I mean, I was trying to make these little squares that I had into text boxes so I could put in all this type that I had over here into the standard cotton column. And the last thing that I did before it started making this sound was make this whatever align to the left instead of the right, and then it started making that noise. maybe because I'm gonna try closing Photoshop. Maybe I just have too much stuff open.
That could be.